Good morning, it's Ginny and Tim at DS Tech. We're going to talk about it only takes one email to destroy everything. I mean, literally, like shut down your business, you lose all kinds of money. I mean, lots of bad things happen, but we'll talk about that. If you need help with any of this cybersecurity stuff or training your employees, which is super important, drop help and I'll get some information to you. So
definitely.
It only takes one email, Tim.
Yeah, that's the title of this episode. It only takes one email, the severity of phishing scams in business, because unfortunately, you always hear about ransomware and data breaches and blah, blah, and all the other news scare tactic stuff. But realistically, most of it, I think it's like in here, do I even have a percentage?
It's like huge.
In 2022, Verizon did a study and they still found that 82% of data breaches involved human error, where someone clicked a link, maybe they clicked on a malicious ad, didn't verify certain things, and we'll kind of go through some of the most common attacks and how you can prevent yourself from becoming a victim. So again, phishing attacks, you're all familiar with that. You get your email, the fake emails where they try to scam you. They get you to try to maybe send some money to the wrong person, various things like that. And unfortunately, you can't just patch humans. You have to still train people to look and use discernment as much as we put security tools in place and email filtering and all the different detection things. Some of them are still going to get through, especially since the attackers now are starting to use some of the AI tools, and it makes it to where you used to get an email with 20 typos. Well, there's probably not 20 typos in them anymore. Nope. It's harder to detect that. So.
It's no longer from Prince Abba something or other.
Yes, you are, yeah.
Now it's from my boss.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They're trying to do impersonation attacks and various other methods. So invoice requests from known vendors is common, where you may actually do business with someone, and if their email gets compromised, they actually, as an attacker, you get into someone's email system, you may see who are they commonly emailing, and then maybe not do your attack on that company, but reach out to all their connections and say, try to pretend you're impersonating them and ask for an extra invoice or another payment or try to make something up. So the typical red flags, right? Urgency, click now, your invoice is due, you're going to lose service if you don't pay it yesterday, all those kinds of things like that. Like, just look out for those types of red flags, like the urgency and that kind of stuff will be a big one too. So payment updates about financial institutions again, project updates, document sharing requests is a new one too, where, ideally if you have Microsoft 365, you can configure it in such a manner that your regular employee can't just put a file in OneDrive and share it with certain people. You can do some restrictions to maybe have certain people or groups be allowed to share, not just let it be blanket, things like that. And then, so just coming into the high cost of falling for a phishing scam, again, it's just, you hear the different things, data leaks, millions of dollars lost, companies paying fines, all that stuff. And they don't talk about big thing as the reputational damage, because if you're a small business in your area, people like to build a lot of familiarity with you. And if something gets out where this vendor or this place had a big data breach, it may cause people to decide who to do business with the second time. And that's a big, you can't really put a cost number on that, but that typically lingers, they say on average, like 7 years to completely recover from a catastrophic ransomware event in terms of getting your reputation all the way built up again. So
I've heard of businesses completely shutting down.
And some of them, if you have a huge ransomware event or they had this thing and they didn't have cyber insurance or something happened, it's sad and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But sometimes a business may just not be able to recover and have to close the doors. So some alarming statistics, 4.88 million is the average cost of a data breach in 2024 from IBM Cost of a Data Breach Report.
Wow.
30% of recipients open phishing emails still, and that was from cybersecurity, the CISA, the government one that does. And 90% of cyber attacks start with a phishing email. So it's still making it the top thing for people to get access, because again, as much as we put tools in place, it's ultimately on the humans that are going to be clicking and doing certain actions. So, why businesses are prime targets for phishing? Well, it just works. There's money in it. The attackers are doing it because, unfortunately, if they get a payout or they're able to convince a company and they fall for a breach, that company has a huge target on their back and people are attacking them again and again repeatedly because they already paid out once, they're going to pay out again. So that's why it's common. You may hear some of these big names repeatedly in the news because that's what will happen to a target. Frequent vendor and client communication. So people, again, any of those vendors you may work with or subcontractors or however your business works, just be very, diligent of that, because you may trust the source, but they may have a breach and now an attacker's using them. And it may look like it's completely legitimate, but it's seems kind of fishy. And whenever you get those situations, that's where I just pick up the phone and I call whoever is sending me the email and direct connect to them to verify that they actually sent me the email.
Or just don't click the link and
go
to the
click
website.
it and just, go to the website. Like, for common phishing things like tracking or your social media post or your banking or click this invoice, any of that kind of stuff, just go directly to the vendor's website or the direct source and log in using the way you know that's legitimate, and then check your data there to make sure that it's not fake. So
I know it's inconvenient, but
Yeah.
so inconvenience is way less expensive.
Right. And so they talk some of the common things, best practices in phishing prevention is invest in email security tools so you can put software in place to help filter that stuff. We'll talk more in depth here towards later about training employees to spot phishing attempts. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. Typically, people will train their staff when they first start the job, and then sometimes they kind of just forget about it. So it's important to have continuous education where you can even set up things where you send fake emails on purpose to your staff to try to trick them, and then it just says you've been phished, and it might be a little 10-minute training video as a supplementary to remind them, things like that. Verifying your financial transactions and vendor requests, that's a big one, and having a multi-step verification process can help prevent fraudulent payments. So the idea I like to use is it's almost getting to the point now where you almost need two methods of confirmation. So like if your CEO or your accountant is like, hey, we have this new deal, we need to have an ACH go to, it's some sort of like a business request that's odd, that's maybe common, you almost want to have a secondary thing. Well, once you send the email, I need to talk to you in person or have a Teams meeting ad hoc, or just walk down to your office and shake your hand and verify, if you can do that to make sure. So it's almost like you have two-factor, or have a certain PIN code set up to where when a request comes in, it's off the record, but this extra PIN is like almost a confirmation code to authorize it. So just kind of start thinking about having a secondary layer of verification for big business decisions within your company, however you're doing that. And so just moving forward with a proactive approach. So preventing phishing attacks, it's just not about technology. It's about building a culture of security awareness. And again, everyone from the receptionist to the C-level employees all need to be on the same page. And taking all that kind of stuff. It's a team effort. And the biggest thing, again, what you can do to help protect yourself against these types of phishing attacks is have a cybersecurity training in your business. Whether you're doing the fake phishing test on purpose with fake emails, whether you're doing security refreshers, maybe every 6 months or a year you have like just a gathering of your business, and you have a whole security awareness training talking about the latest things to look for, the latest how AI can trick you with email this way, kind of some of those topics we talk about in these videos. Just have a yearly refresher where you have all the staff go through it to be aware of it. And the biggest thing is new hires. Some of the new hires fresh out of school and stuff, they may not be used to dealing with business and scams and all this kind of stuff targeting them as much. So just make sure they're really vigilant and to understand the ramifications that just even they clicking a link can lead to bad things. So the biggest thing, the human factor, again, they can't patch humans. So unfortunately, that's just the way they're getting yet. So sending fake phishing emails is great. And then some of the other security
Someday
awareness.
Maybe they can patch humans.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll stay out of Neuralink. I'll let others be the data test for that. But
anyway.
But yeah, so like other common things other than just the security awareness and emails is you could do enforce the idea of using strong passwords and don't reuse your passwords. Some of the common security things we do where you don't want to use the same password for multiple accounts to log in. As humans, we do that because it's easy, but then if an attacker gets an email password combination, they're going to try to use that in every single account they see associated with it. And if you reuse your password, they might get into other areas you didn't even know you still had that password out there. So use a password manager if you can. Get a password manager, give it to your employees. That way they can create unique passwords and it's much easier for them to manage. Would be the biggest thing for that.
It actually makes things easier.
It does. At first, I was even reluctant to get one because I'm like, I got my methods and no one likes change, right? But then once I started using it and I finally got it worked out, got all my passwords in there, I was like, why did I not do this? It just
At first, it was a pain, but
it's kind of a little bit of a lift. It kind of can be intimidating to get all your passwords, all this stuff. But once you get there, it does streamline the process and it makes it very easy and it's more secure. That's the biggest win too.
Yep.
A common thing to talk about in your security awareness training with your staff too is social media oversharing, right? And not to say this would happen, but you don't want your staff coming into work one day, hopefully this doesn't happen, but on the screen it says ransomware, and so they take a picture of it and put it on Facebook and say, oh, I have the day off from work, LOL, and then that's out there now. And now it's just you need to have some sort of an acceptable use policy. and staff should know not to take pictures of company stuff, throwing it on Facebook. But that's a common thing that you may see too with the social media just blowing up, people taking stuff and sharing it, like they're in their cubicle taking selfies and sharing it. Well, that
What's
selfie,
in the background?
exactly, there could be a password or a sticky note or something in the background. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Be aware
Of that. And so this all just falls under security awareness training that you should do with your staff, right? Talk about how this can lead to financial loss, reputational damage, downtime, all that kind of stuff that we talked about. That's for it. And again, the biggest thing is just having it be continuous. Try to have it reoccurring, whether it's the fake emails, whether you're doing an awareness training once in a while. Just it's important to keep that active because the methods are changing. The overall idea of getting phishing emails is the same, but some of the tactics may change, or there might be a new thing to look for, or it might be a new tool we can use to help detect things. And then having a good plan in place to report it in a quick manner, right? So if you did fall for a phishing link and you clicked it, make sure you tell your manager or whoever you report to immediately. So that ideally, if they're a client of ours, they'll tell us right away, and we can instantly start triaging and looking to make sure, like, did it actually cause anything? Is it starting to run away and get in accounts? Are they making new rules, new accounts? We'll actually can see and stop that from happening. So don't just be like, oh, I clicked it real quickly and it went away, nothing happened.
Nothing happened, I'm good, I'm embarrassed, I don't want to tell anybody.
Exactly. It's always embarrassment, right? No one wants to own up. I've clicked links before.
Me too.
Everyone's clicked them.
Me too.
Just own it, tell it, report it right away. That's the best thing you can do because then it will prevent it from potentially getting
really bad.
Beyond. Exactly.
Yeah.
So train employees to spot phishing attempts, to cover that, verify financial transactions with vendor requests. Yep, similar, just almost maybe have a PIN code or a special thing within your inner circle who's controlling the accountants at the top, and just have some sort of a real good verification, because unfortunately with AI, they can have a phone call that sounds like your boss. It's just the way that it can happen. It's very rare still, but on targeted attacks that happens. They can even do like a fake Teams meeting. There was one that was pretty egregious that did that. So just having a thing where this is normally how our quotes come in, this is normally how we pay it, but then on top of that, we require a phone call or a PIN, or just get thinking about that don't just take the initial request at face value.
And we have an accounts payable team, but we do have a process.
Yep.
So that's important too, right?
Yeah, having a good process in place on how it works and have everything be audited and tracked, and having a good thing is always good as a business. So most businesses are going to have probably a pretty good process for that already. They're not going to just be like giving $250,000 to random people here and there, but you never know.
It's happened.
For sure.
It has happened.
So these are some of the same things we talked about earlier, just the different numbers. 4.88 million is the cost of a data breach, all this other stuff. It's pretty similar. But again, the biggest thing is that, train your staff, make it a conversational piece. Hey, did you see that silly, phishing email, or even personal, like, oh, I get all these UPS fake tracking messages to my phone. Just make it part of a conversation, make people aware of it, and just to kind of remind them of, I always keep that in the back of their head, that just be vigilant out there. So
yeah, we had several of our clients send me their Microsoft invoices, and I'm like, you wouldn't get a Microsoft invoice because you paid DS Tech.
Exactly. And there's lots of and we even saw like there was like a business email compromise where like business, that it's still ramping up. That's still a huge thing where they'll get into your email and not necessarily exfiltrate your data, but use it to try to move laterally and work with all your vendors and other people like that too. So, and that's harder to track because it's coming from a legitimate email you do business with. It's just you don't know that they're compromised in the back end because you can't control everyone that you work with and how they're secure they are. You can only control your doors and how your employees interact with them. So
that's creepy stuff. That's scary.
But if you work with DS Tech, we got security awareness training, we got fake emails, all that kind of stuff. We can help you. And if you haven't, reach out to us. Definitely we'll get you started on your security journey. And if you want to up your current existing security that you have to the next level, reach out. There's always ways to improve it and take it to the next level. So.
There is, and I know I know for a fact that fake email training is very effective.
I think they say on average within 3 to 4 months, the amount of like click-through rate, like how many, they click the fake links, will depreciate by like 50 to 60% within the first 3 months. And then if you do it for 6 months to a year, by the end of that, no one wants to click the links anymore to take the training.
No.
So it really,
you click
really
it and
help.
you're like, oh man, I gotta watch the video again.
Exactly.
So
I've only seen this cartoon 5 times. So I just keep falling for it,
But it works.
It does.
Very effective. So, and also say, don't click the link, right? So I think we covered it. Again,
pretty in-depth.
If you have any questions or need any help, type help, get in touch with us on our website, whatever you need to do. So make it a great day and stay safe.